What's going on YouTube? So the Toyota Camry has long been an important product to our family and especially to our channel over the past year.
And Toyota sent us the latest 2026 model with all of the options checked off so we could live with it and see what it's like.
So we want to know, is this nearly $45,000 Camry a Lexus for less? Well, let's go ahead and find out. Like always, let's get things started with a quick spec dump. This Camry, like every Camry, has the 5th generation hybrid system, which is a 2.5 liter 4-cylinder engine with your electric components, making 232 horsepower with the available all-wheel drive system. This also has an eCVT, and the combined fuel economy of this version is 43 miles per gallon.
Now, the base price of the Camry is $29,000. This one is sitting over $45,000. And if you're looking to buy one or any new vehicle, we would encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes to get the best price. Now, of course, we lived with this model, so we have a couple special things to share, such as our real-world fuel economy after the week, as well as if we like it better, the same, or worse.
But let's go ahead and close up the hood because we need to get into exactly why this cost so much money. So if you've been around our channel for a while, you might know that we have a long-term 2025 Toyota Camry. This is an XSE trim level. And as we've been talking about over here to my other side, my left side, we have the 2026 XSE as well. But there's a significant price discrepancy between these two, and that's because Toyota offers a lot of packages that actually allow you to make this Camry kind of more Lexus-like, as we were talking about. And we're going to kind of go through a lot of those differences because this Camry that we purchased is about $38,000. This one over here is $45,000. So that's about $7,000 difference. Is it worth that? Well, let's go ahead and kind of dig in and find out. Now, up here in the front, obviously, this isn't going to be where you're going to see many of those changes. They're both XSEs, so they both have the body color grille. We have blacked out badging, full LED headlights with the amber daytime running light. One difference here is this available accessory, which is kind of a light bar, just giving you a little bit more of a distinct look at night. Now, as we move on to the wheels, we have 19-inch alloys. This is the contrast design you get on the XSE trim. But I want to draw your attention actually up here to the mirrors because this is one place where you do get an extra feature. In addition to the blind spot monitoring and heating that all Camrys have, this top model actually has auto tilt down in reverse to help you see those parking lines when you're backing up.
Now, as far as the length of the Camry, that's 193.5 inches. And when it comes to side design, you may notice that our Camry actually has something that 2026 model doesn't have. That's that we have the two-tone roof option. You can get this on a couple different color choices. And speaking of color choices, that 2026 example that you see over there is rocking the new dark Cosmos color. I definitely think it's a very cool color. It's kind of like a bluish gray, and it looks really good. Although the white one has a little bit more contrast, that's for sure. Now, as far as the rear design, I do think we have a very Lexus-like rear design. To me, it looks very similar to a Lexus ES. We have the blacked out spoilers on the upper part for both of the models, the blacked out branding through the center section. All of your badging is also going to be blacked out. And then all of your XSEs will have the exposed exhaust outlets over there on the left-hand side. One of the badging differences that you will notice is that since we just have front-wheel drive, we don't have the all-wheel drive badge that model over there on the left-hand side has. Now, of course, we need to talk about safety, and when it comes to this, Toyota makes it very easy. All 4 of your active safety features are standard on every single Camry this year. However, that's not the full story, because if you choose the Premium Plus package like that model has back there, you get a few extra goodies. That will include things like a traffic jam assistant and a lane change assistant. So those are a couple of the features that you typically see on Lexus products. Additionally, it's going to include the sensor above the steering wheel that actually monitors your eyeballs to make sure you're paying attention. So in previous, Camry videos that we've had on the channel, we've complained that you have to keep wiggling the steering wheel to make the lane tracing continue to work. And that's something that's actually corrected if you choose that Premium Plus package over there. But guys, we have a lot to talk about when it comes to the interior and some changes in there. But first, if you're new here, we're brothers and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We started young, and since then, we've reviewed over 2,000 cars at every price point.
And if you want to know about all the latest and greatest rides, then make sure to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family.
Let's learn a lot and have some fun with all the newest cars. Now the biggest differences are going to show up with the interior, so let's move to that. Here's our smart entry system, of course, with the Camry badged key fob. Getting inside is as easy as just reaching behind the door handle. All right, and let's take a look inside at the interior. So just like with our long-term Camry, we've got the red interior color, but I want to start off by talking about the seats because there's some differences that I think are important and noteworthy with the Premium Plus package. So the seats themselves, the material will be the same. It is a Softex faux leather. They're still going to be very firm, just like our Camrys, but they have nice bolsters to hold you in place, and they've got the same adjustments. What's different is the fact that this will come with memory seats. So if you have a household where you're sharing this car with another person, this is going to be a big deal, and that's also actually new for 2026 as well. Let's go ahead and climb on inside. And getting inside here, of course, the overall cabin materials as an XSE aren't going to change between having the premium or not having the premium package. So you have soft touch materials and leatherette over most of the commonly touched surfaces, and then you have some piano black over the center elements. We'll start up with the push button start. And when that fires up, you're going to be greeted with this 12.3-inch digital gauge cluster. It's reconfigurable with a few different designs. But one nice touch that you're going to get in addition to the digital gauge cluster by choosing this loaded example is a head-up display. So this head-up display is going to be very Lexus-like, of course, and you can reconfigure this to several different types of designs, and it's got all types of good, useful information inside. We also have rain sensing wipers on this loaded example as compared to our daily driver. And then of course we have the nice leather wrap steering wheel with heating. That's something shared between both of the XSE models. Now turning over here to our storage, of course, Camry has long been very good with interior storage. That continues. So you can see we have plenty of space for lots of donuts and a 12-volt connection inside there. We have our 2 cup holders, a big storage tray right there, and a wireless phone charging pad with some USB connections. Now, as we come to the shifter, this is where we're going to see, again, some more changes that you get with the loaded examples. So heading into reverse, now we're greeted with a 360-degree camera system, whereas the standard XSE would just get the traditional view and active trajectory. This also gives us parking sensors for both the front and the back as well. And you can spin all around the vehicle with that same kind of system like Lexus products offer. Back behind the shifter, you have your electronic parking brake with your auto brake hold function. Now our next feature that makes this worth $7,000 more than the standard XSE is right here. We have ventilated seats in addition to the already standard heated seats and also part of our dual zone automatic climate control system. Of course, it's been very cold, so it's not something we've been using, but it is nice if you live in a warm climate. Now, let's go ahead and move on now to a sample of the audio system because the loaded model gets the 9-speaker JBL sound system instead of the 6-speaker standard sound system. So overall, this sound system is certainly an improvement over the standard 6-speaker sound system. However, at the same time, it's certainly not a Mark Levinson level sound system like you get in a Lexus product. So just keep that in mind. Now, as far as the screen, this is going to be the same across the Camry XSE lineup. We have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto built in, and you also have built-in navigation during the subscription period. Up top, we have an auto-dimming mirror with HomeLink universal remotes at the bottom. This example comes with the available dash cam built right in, and then we have, wrapping up the interior, the panoramic sunroof.
Let's go ahead and check out the rear seats of the Camry now. When it comes to this area, of course, this is just like our Camry. So we're sitting at 38 inches of legroom and 38 inches of headroom. Those are going to be pretty good numbers, and certainly it's going to be, pretty large for any type of family's needs. I brought along the official Car Confections ruler. The reason I do that is so I can get a realistic knee room figure. We're sitting at about 8 inches of knee room. That's pretty solid, and my feet can slide up underneath of the seats. These seats back here are actually decently comfortable. They're more comfortable than the ones in the front from our experience, and you are also going to have 2 cup holders inside of the center armrest. Now, as far as other features, we have our rear vents right here in the center area. We also have 2 USB ports, a Type A and a Type C variety. However, one thing that I am pretty disappointed to tell you is that Toyota doesn't throw in heated back seats or anything like that, even on this fully loaded example. That is something that the Honda Accord does include, and I think for that big price difference, they should have thrown in the heated back seats. Now, let's go ahead and look at the door trim. We have a hard touch upper part of the door trim, leatherette all through the center section and on the armrest portion. There's also quite a bit of door storage down in the bottom. It's big enough to swallow up a bottle like this. And let's go ahead and check out the cargo area. In order to get back here, you just press the button here on the left-hand side. It's nicely, or the right-hand side, it's nicely dampened, and as you can see, it does open pretty much fully. However, it's not a fully power trunk, which is something that you can get on the Hyundai Sonata, for instance. And let's go ahead and talk about the overall cargo capacity. We're sitting at 15.1 cubic feet of space here in the Camry. That's going to be a good amount for this midsize segment. And speaking of maybe other sedans you could be cross-shopping with, we'd encourage you to go to carconfections.com/vehicle rankings. We've looked at affordable sedans and ranked them in important categories such as cargo space, interior technology, luxury, powertrain choices, and very importantly, value. And you can sort and see the best options in each of those categories. So if you want to make an informed buying decision, definitely go to our website, carconfections.com/vehicle rankings. Now back to the Camry. These seats do fold 60-40 split. And let's get our cargo length, width, and height figures. As far as overall cargo length, about 45 inches of length is what you're sitting at. The opening is going to be about 35 inches wide, and then it's only about 20 inches tall. As far as features are concerned, if I lift up the floor here, there we go. You do have a spare tire, which is nice because this is a hybrid, and also this fully loaded example gives you the aluminum scuff plates here in the cargo area. Well, guys, here we are behind the wheel of the 2026 Toyota Camry. In this test drive, we're going to be discussing quite a lot, as you can see on the screen right now. We'll also be getting things like our sound level reading and discussing our real-world fuel economy. But first, let's go ahead and start with a hard acceleration.
All right, there we are, 60 miles per hour. So with our 2026 Camry XSE, this is the all-wheel drive version, as we mentioned at the spec dump. And what that means is that we have a little bit more power because the way the all-wheel drive system is set up. You have that third electric motor that's quite small and powers the back wheels. That's going to give you 232 horsepower. So I don't know about you, Mason, but I could really feel the difference. Blew me away versus 225 horsepower. No, I'm just kidding, but it's a little extra, and you have, extra reassurance of traction if you're in inclement weather and stuff like that. So there's certainly a reason why people do choose the all-wheel drive version.
Yeah, I will say maybe the initial launch and punch off the line feels a little bit quicker than our front-wheel drive Camry, but overall it is going to be very similar. So with the front-wheel drive version, that's rated at 225 horsepower, and of course this is a 2.5-liter 4-cylinder engine with your electric motors to give you that 225 or 232 horsepower, depending on if you choose front-wheel drive or all-wheel drive.
Now, of course, this has an eCVT like any of the other Camry hybrids out there. But, this video we've been talking a lot about the things that are different about getting the most expensive version of the Camry versus the version that we live with on a daily basis. And there are some little differences when you're behind the wheel. Mason talked already about the safety system difference, but having that sensor there on the steering wheel means that you can use the lane trace assist and the adaptive cruise control without so many interruptions.
Yeah.
Because previously on all the other Camrys, that is, if you're on a straight road, for instance, it constantly is asking you, shake the steering wheel, remind me that you're still paying attention. But this sensor here actually allows the car to know that you're paying attention because it can track your eyeballs. That actually was pretty darn useful this week in terms of going on highway cruises and stuff, because it gets very frustrating to be constantly interrupted.
Absolutely.
Another thing this has, which is more on the minor side, is the fact that it can sense if you're approaching a car and activates the regen a little bit more aggressively. That's something that we've seen on Lexus products. And it also has front cross-traffic alerts. So if there's a vehicle passing by in front of you and you let off the brake pedal, it will go ahead and beep at you to make sure you don't run into them.
Yeah. And now we've turned out onto our designated strip of road to talk about ride quality. Now, we're pretty familiar with the Camry. We do own one, of course. The ride quality is no different for 2026, so you have pretty solid ride quality for this type of vehicle. You do have pretty large 19-inch wheels on the outside, but overall, the suspension does a pretty good job of soaking that up. We have complained about in our Camry's videos, about the seats being hard. That, of course, does continue into this one as well. We have the same red interior and everything on this model. So they are going to be a little bit on the firmer side, so keep that in mind as you pick between the trim levels. I do believe you'd probably get a more comfortable seat in some of the other trim levels, maybe a XLE, for instance. All right, and we are speeding up to 55 miles per hour so we can get our sound level reading. And we have it on fan speed 1, so let's see how quiet it is. 56.2 decibels is what we are sitting at as our sound level reading. We don't sit here and guess. We can go to carconfections.com/sound level readings and see how this compares to the other sedans it competes with. And indeed, that is going to be on the quieter end for this midsize sedan segment. It's definitely going to be quieter than something like a Honda Accord. Not quite as quiet as a Hyundai Sonata or a Kia K5, though, so keep that in mind. And I do want to point out the X trim, so the XLE and XSE, those will get the acoustic glass in the front to kind of make your cabin experience a little bit quieter and more pleasurable. Now, of course, you're probably curious about fuel economy, so let's go ahead and talk about that. One of the things that I do want to hit is the fact that this model has all-wheel drive, so that does affect your fuel economy. So we're sitting at 43 mpg for this XSE all-wheel drive. Now, compared to the front-wheel drive version, which is what we own, that's sitting at 46 miles per gallon combined in 2026. So 3 mpg penalty, so that's definitely something to keep in mind. And as far as our real-world experienced fuel economy, we drove this vehicle about a little over 200 miles, and what we were sitting at as our average was 39.9 miles per gallon. That was mixed both city and highway driving. So overall, maybe slightly under what the EPA is estimating, but it is going to be pretty close. And if you're really curious about, fuel economy and how this Camry might stack up, we have done several fuel economy tests on our personal Camry that you can hop on over and check that out. All right, let's get into our slam dunk and airball, which is our favorite and least favorite element. I'll kick us off with the slam dunk and just say that we do like the 2026 improvements. We like the exterior paint color. It looks pretty good in person, and also a couple more features, especially here on this fully loaded example, I think is very nice, such as those memory seats over on the left-hand side. I think those definitely improve your experience and make it feel like it's worth a little bit more money.
And on the airball side of things, we're going to have to say the pricing is pretty high, but I'm not going to talk any more about that. I'm going to let Mason kind of summarize that at the end.
And do we like it better, the same, or worse after living with it? Well, we're pretty experienced, and we've lived with the Camry for a period of time, so this really doesn't change our opinion, so it's going to be the same as our overall Camry ownership experience. So let's talk pricing. So the Camry does start at $29,000 for the base LE front-wheel drive example this year. As you move up the trim structure, of course, those prices elevate. The XSE starts at $35,200 for 2026, which represents around a $700 to $800 price increase over last year. Now, as we've said numerous times throughout this review, this is a fully loaded example. So we have a lot of options. Namely, the biggest option is the Premium Plus package. That's $4,600 or $760. So that includes pretty much all the features that we talked about in this video. And we also have quite a few accessories on this model, and the paint is an extra cost. So all told, after destination of $1,195, we're sitting at $45,096. If you're curious as to where this is manufactured, it is manufactured just a few miles away in Georgetown, Kentucky. Now, if you're looking to buy a Toyota Camry or any new vehicle, we would encourage you to go to carconfections.com/newcarquotes. The reason you should do that is because we have a tool on our website that will connect you with local car dealers in your area to get you the best price. It's also going to give you access to invoice pricing information, which is a great tool to use while dealership negotiating. If you'd like to take advantage of that, as well as things like our monthly payment tool, you can find a link to that down below in our video description, as well as a pinned comment at the top of this video. Buying a vehicle is about more than just the original MSRP, so let's talk about resale and reliability. So let's start with resale value. After 5 years and 60,000 miles, we estimate it'll be worth 64.5% of original MSRP, and after 10 years and 120,000 miles, 41.4%. It's worth noting that is a very good resale value percentage. It's one of the very best in the entire auto industry.
The same can also be said about reliability, where Toyota rates as the highest overall brand in our reliability index.
Now, if you want to learn more about how reliability and resale value are assessed, you can go to carconfections.com/resale and carconfections.com/reliability. Now, also important in a purchase decision is your warranty. Toyota does have a 3-year 36,000-mile basic warranty, a 5-year 60,000-mile powertrain warranty, and 2 years and 25,000 miles of complimentary maintenance. So at the end of the day, after living with this 2026 fully loaded Camry for the past week, do we have big regrets, and would we buy this fully loaded example? Well, I don't think we have too big of regrets, that's for sure, given that huge $7,000 price difference. I do really like the fully loaded package, and I like that Toyota is including all of those features for those of you that really want that Lexus-like experience. But for me, I think $7,000 is a bit too much, and $45,000 is a lot for a Camry. Now, if you found this video helpful, where we kind of dive into the Premium Plus package and all the differences, we'd really appreciate you hitting that subscribe button down below. If you're at all interested in the Camry as well, we have a ton of long-form videos on this Toyota Camry where we talk about our ownership experience, and I promise you won't want to miss out. So be sure to hit that subscribe button down below. If you're already a fan and subscriber, thank you so much for your continued support, and we'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.